Hello, I've decided to start doing an occasional Q&A video on this channel because I get an awful lot of questions either through the YouTube comments or messages through YouTube or messages on Twitter. I get emails, people come to the website tubeshooter.co.uk and send me messages through that, and a lot of those questions are the same sort of questions, so I thought I might start doing one of these Q&A videos every now and again and answer some of the most common queries that I get, and I hope it will be useful. Now, the question for today's video is, what's the best camcorder for me? Now, let me be straight honest from the outset. I'm not going to say this camcorder at the end of the video. I'm not going to say a Panasonic whatever or a Sony this and that and the other, because, as you will see, the answer is it depends. But what I am going to do is outline the process of what you need to think about in order to work out what is the best camcorder for you. So, grab a cup of tea and a biscuit, settle down, and let's get started on how to work out what is the best camcorder. Well, there are several things you need to think about when trying to answer the question, what is the best camcorder? And the first one, quite simply, is budget. Because if you say to me, what's the best camcorder? I'm going to say probably Sony f55, something from Arriflex, maybe a Red. They cost tens of thousands of pounds, and the lenses cost tens of thousands of pounds, and then you'll need the batteries and the tripods and all the ancillary gear. So that's the best camcorder you can get. There we go, job done, I've answered the question. But in reality, of course, you're probably not looking for that sort of answer. You're what's the best camcorder for this sort of money? So the first question you really have to answer yourself is, how much money have I got to spend? And only then can we start looking at camcorders in that bracket and work out which one might be best for you. And don't forget, of course, that even if you've got X amount of pounds, you are going to need to set aside probably double X amount of pounds for all the accessories. You will want some spare batteries, more than one probably. You will want some memory cards, and these days the camcorders are shooting at ever faster data rates and using up ever more memory. You're going to want a spare, you're going to want one in the computer that you're editing on, you're going to want two in the camcorder, so you need to budget for several memory cards. A tripod, you're going to need decent budget for a tripod. Don't buy any rubbish. Cheap tripods are hopeless. If you buy a really good tripod, it will last you for a decade, more than a decade. I know people who've had the same tripod for 20 years plus, and because they bought well, it has lasted them. So don't, whatever you do, skimp on the tripod. You can easily spend more on the tripod than the camcorder, but it will last you. So what I'm saying is, yes, you've got a budget, but even within that budget, you've got to think now, do I need to buy the accessories within that budget, or can I allow some more for the accessories? And you will need to allow for that. So, point one, ask yourself truly honestly, how much money have I got to spend, and how much money have I got to spend on the camcorder? What you are going to film will make a great difference to the answer of which camcorder is best for me. If you just want a compact camcorder to take on family holidays, point at the family dog, just point and shoot, no hassle, that's one type of camcorder. If you're trying to make films, proper, motion pictures, that's a whole different ballgame. If you're trying to shoot weddings, corporate events, news, all these different aspects of what you're trying to film, I keep having people, weirdly, sending me emails saying, I film pranks. There seems to be a hell of a lot of prank filming going on, and they want camcorders that have beautiful stabilization and can film at night and film in the daytime. They want everything. So what you're filming does very much vary the answer of what is the best camcorder for you. So firstly, work out, am I going to use it for just this? Am I going to use it for this and a bit of this? And once you've answered that, again, you are starting to refine now your options, and it may be a bit like house buying. You suddenly realise you've got to compromise somewhere or extend your budget to get the model you want. But that's good, because now it means we are focusing on what we want and what we can get and what we want to do with it. So be honest with yourself. What am I going to use this camcorder for? That is stage two. There will be a difference in the type of camcorder that's best for you if you are just starting out in filmmaking, having never made a film before, as opposed to if you are an experienced old hand. So when you're starting out, it's probably best to get one that's going to largely do things on auto. Now, I hate auto. I like having control of the camcorder myself. But if you're trying to both think about filmmaking and think about the technicalities of the camera, it's a lot to take in when you are a complete novice. So it's probably easier to put the camera on auto, live with the deficiencies of auto, and there are many, but just learn the craft of filmmaking. What are good shots? What are the variety of shots you can take? How you can take them? Just the storytelling element of how to use a camcorder. Of course, once you've gone beyond that point, and if you feel you are beyond that point already, you might be thinking, but I want that manual control. So now the question is, how much manual control do you feel capable of doing? Is it just a bit of focusing? Are you happy setting exposure yourself? And also, do you need instant access to those controls? Someone who is shooting news or live corporate events, and probably weddings, needs to have instant manual access to focus, exposure. They need real buttons, knobs, dials, things they can twist instantly and by touch alone without having to take their eye away from the camcorder and start stabbing away at a touch screen to go through the menus. But if, for example, you're shooting a film, then you're probably going to set each scene up. There will be time to set the camcorder down and do the prodding on the menus, so that manual control via real physical dials isn't quite so important to you. So again, what you're filming, what your expertise is, that will inform what kind of camcorder you need. A news cameraman needs controls, physical controls aplenty. Someone making a film, they've got time to set things manually in the menus. So the question is, how skilled are you and what access to the controls do you need? Now, at the time of filming this, 4K filming is, well, it's not exactly all the rage. It is certainly encroaching and coming on in leaps and bounds. You've got Netflix, YouTube, I think Amazon even possibly streaming in 4K. Certainly here in the UK, Sky TV have started experimenting with 4K channels. 4K is the big thing. You've got 4K TVs. You are now seeing a smattering of low-end camcorders that will shoot 4K. Obviously, there are phones that are shooting 4K. But for many people, that's just the future. And they don't need that, they don't want that, their computers aren't powerful enough to handle editing 4K, they're quite happy in HD. So there is a question of future-proofing. Do you want to buy a camcorder now that is going to last you as long as possible, in which case you probably have to look to whatever the cutting edge is and take a little punt, a little bet on it continuing to be going into the future? Or are you looking at something that you're going to use for a couple of years? Perhaps, as I say, if you're a novice, you won't be looking that far. You'll buy something to get used to filming and then you'll upgrade. So whether you need the cutting edge or whether you need something tried and tested, that can inform your decision as well. So yes, there is this question of, do you actually want a camcorder at all? Over the last 2 to 3 years, shooting video on DSLRs, stills cameras that do video, has become absolutely all the rage because they have a certain look to the footage. You're able to get a very shallow depth of field so that what you're focusing on is in focus and everything in the background is out of focus. It all looks beautiful. And if you're shooting a movie or a commercial or something like that, yes, that might well be the answer for you. If you're shooting news, then actually that shallow depth of field is a right nuisance, because if things are moving around you and you're constantly fiddling with the lens trying to get them in focus, it's a nightmare. You actually want a big depth of field so you can just follow whatever the news story is as it unfolds without really having to worry about focus. So DSLRs, camcorders, they are other options. And you need to think about, well, maybe I don't want a camcorder. I'm trying to shoot commercials here and make them look beautiful. And for just a few £100, I can get a DSLR that will have a beautiful image. But if you're running around shooting weddings or whatever, well, that's a tricky one, because you want the beautiful image of the DSLR, but you want the ease of use of a camcorder, in which case the latest crop of camcorders that have DSLR type functions might be what you want, like the Canon C100 Mark II, that kind of product that takes all the best functionality of a camcorder but with the images of a DSLR. So again, it's not as simple as what's the best camcorder, it's actually, is it a camcorder I need? So by now, you know how much money you've got, you've honestly stated how much skill and expertise you have, you know what you want to shoot, and you've decided what kind of technology you want. So this is where a bit of honest, hard graft comes in, bit of legwork. You've actually got to do some research now. Sit down, look at the websites, see what products are available for the budget in the technology sphere that you want. Look at what DSLRs are available, look what camcorders are available, write them down, note down some of those key features with respect of what it is you want to do. If you're wanting to do a lot of walking, talking and vlogging type shots, you might possibly lean towards one of the Sony camcorders with their balanced optical stabilization system, the best handycam stabilization there is. But if that's not important to you, you might look at something else. So go through the manufacturer websites, the Sony, the JVC, the Panasonics, all of them, and look at Canon and look at what models are available within your budget that fit the brief that you've defined for yourself over the last few points we've mentioned. Now you've got yourself a shortlist and you can start thinking about which one would be the best for you. That's just the thing. There probably is no best, really. Best is different for different people and different situations. And let's face it, most modern camcorders and DSLRs take a pretty blooming good image anyway. So you're probably not going to buy a duff one. To be honest, it's a bit like cars these days. It's very hard to buy a really bad car. They're all pretty decent. Whether you get the exact right one for you depends on your circumstances. So no, I'm not going to say now what you want to be buying is a whatever. Look at your list, work out what you want to do, buy it. Stop faffing about, buy it, have a go with it. Look, if it turns out that it wasn't quite right, then you have learned from that experience, and the next time you buy a camcorder, you will be much better informed. Okay, so that's easy to say if you've got money to throw around, but look, you can buy a camcorder and in many places return it in 30 days with all your money back if you still don't like it. Or you can sell it on at only a tiny loss. And if it's your very first camcorder, you might have to accept that there is going to be that process of trial and error. But once you've bought one, you've experienced it and you realise, I wasn't quite right with what I wanted here. Well, you are the richer for learning. But whatever you do, don't mess about. Go buy, make films, have fun, and thank you very much for watching. Look, I hope this was useful. I know I didn't give you a definitive this is the best camcorder answer, but I hope the video was useful in clarifying how to work out what is best for you. If it was, please do click on that like button, and if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, please do subscribe as well for more videos coming up soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.